Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. The practice of maunam that is going to be talked about, or that we are discussing, as one of the lakshana of the sannyasi. What kind? Paramahamsa sannyasi. Ranges from the total silence to what is called vak tapas. For the people who are looking for sadhana, one can take it as vak tapas. In a way, it is easier to remain silent. Maunam is very easy. It's not difficult to remain silent. You can, and in fact, in the ashrams we see this a lot. You go to Rishikesh, any of the ashrams, people have a board with a string. And what does it say? I am in Maunam. And you meet the person washing your plate after lunch. This happened to me, so I met this man. I said, oh, how nice. Since when? Since yesterday afternoon, he said. So, this is the extent of the Maunam, Maunam gone. And because, it's just, in a way, it's easy to train yourself to not talk. But that's not as interesting as vak tapas, knowing when to not talk and when to talk, how much to talk and how much to not talk. This is where the Paramahamsa sannyasi, that they have a range, because they don't have any do's and don'ts here. We are talking of somebody who is already ajnani. But as a sadhana, we can take the concept of vak tapas. How much to say, how much not to say. And when you are in doubt, err on the side of not saying. This is very important for group life, any kind of group life. Living in a group. Family is a group. Ashram family is a group. And so many things you'll come to know. So many things people tell. And best to not go around saying, you know what, this is what this one said, that is what this one said. This would be not on the path of Paramahamsa sannyasa, because it gets one into trouble. So less said the better. Usually the pressure to talk is again from that same insecurity we have discussed earlier. That is where the pressure to talk also comes. And that insecurity to somehow tell the other person or people at large, tell what? I know this already. I know this information that's being discussed, or I know the person that you're talking about. It's all about oneself. It's all about me. I know, and I want to show off that I know. Show off, means maybe too strong a word, but I want to show you that I know. I want to demonstrate. And so, the vak tapas is an antidote to that. And elsewhere in the Brahma Sutra, it is said the jnani behaves as though deaf and mute. Doesn't hear anything. As the, how would somebody who cannot hear and cannot speak, how would they behave? That is exactly how a jnani behaves. Avoids detection, first of all, avoids any attention to oneself, and then does not really engage in in reproducing samsara. The other way to ensure Vak Tapas is to make a sankalpa, when I speak, I will speak only Vedanta. This is a suggestion, an advice from the Mundaka Upanishad. And the same verse also, I think, in a slightly different way, occurs in the Kathopanishad. Anya vacha pramunchata. Give up all other speech. Anya means other speech. Anya vacha means other speech. Speech other than that which either expresses or reiterates, restates the knowledge of Vedanta. So if you make a sankalpa, an intention like that, then the speech is really, really purified. You only talk Vedanta. Of course, be prepared to not have friends anymore, okay? But because that's what the Paramahamsa sannyasi, you're in preparation, yeah. Because the people will drop off faster than you can say the word drop off. It will just be gone. And at parties, they will avoid you. They'll give you a wide berth. That's why we have ashrams. That's why we have like-minded gatherings where you can talk only Vedanta here. You can practice the next 4 days. And no one will drop off. Why? Because then they will have to admit they are not a Vedantin and nobody is prepared to do that. And so, rest assured, you will have your friends, you will have an audience. You can keep talking Vedanta alone. Anya vacha pramunchatha esha amritatvasya setuhu. This is the bridge to immortality. This is the bridge to the vision of no division. This is the bridge to that oneness. This is the bridge to abiding in your own glory. Lessen the talk. Don't talk about anything else other than what is, what is at hand, what is on your mind, what is your priority, which is the discovering the truth of oneself. Because all other things are really very boring. The more you grow in this, you understand how useless all other talk is. So when we do this, then there is a certain purification of the speech, and when speech is purified, the speech arises from the mind is purified, and the speech arises from the tongue is purified, and so that all helps in the assimilation of knowledge. So then the other, and some of these passages we'll be seeing, this is just a, bhumika, a kind of an introduction to some of the passages we'll be seeing here, describing the Paramahamsa sannyasi. But, just to give a little bit of an overview, the other one that is discussed is this santushti. Santushti means contentment. Contentment. And what is this contentment? Contentment with what is. Whatever it is. One is okay with what is. And this santushti is described in the Bhagavad Gita so nicely. How does that go? Yadrichha labha santushtah. In one place. And in another place, santushto yena kena chit. The word santushta comes there because the Bhagavad Gita is describing sannyasa very beautifully. So yadrichha labha santushtah means the one that is happy with whatever comes without seeking. You want something, but something else comes. Usually the emotion is to be disappointed. You greet what you don't want with disappointment. But here you train yourself to greet what comes, what you might not have particularly wanted, with enthusiasm. If not enthusiasm, an acceptance. This is what is santushto yena kena chitta. Yena kena chitta means whatever comes. And here in the modern psychology, this is presented as cultivating an attitude of gratitude. This is what they say. And they have done some research and found out that people who have cultivated the attitude of gratitude live longer and more meaningfully, naturally, because they're not complaining all the time. So contentment means that it is really that santushti is myself. It is an expression of purnata, wholeness, limitlessness. And as we are studying this, as we are in the process of assimilating this knowledge, we can help ourselves to this wholeness on the everyday. Pujya Swamiji used to say, fake it and make it. Behave as though you are already whole, but actually it is not faking it. You are whole. You think you are faking it. You are faking it when you say you are faking it, but actually you are making it. So that's really what you're doing. You're behaving exactly as your nature in the Upanishad is. And this is overriding the tendencies that are there. The tendencies of smallness are overridden for that bigness, that Brihad Atma, this big Atma that one is, that which sustains the whole universe. That which sustains the whole universe is not going to sit and cry over something small. In fact, everything is small compared to which. And that Brahman I am, so I am not small, I am all. This can be a Nididhyasana shloka in English. I am not small, I am all. And I am everything. And so the sense of deprivation goes. And the sense of deprivation is what cancels santushti or contentment. Somehow one feels deprived. I don't have enough, I lack, nobody noticed this and I didn't get this and I was supposed to get this. And often people who complain a lot like this seem to have a karma that when they are in line and when they come to the end of the line waiting for something, that something is finished. The last one has been given to the one just before them. That is because this is what has to be gotten over. This is what has to be overcome. And so with this kind of a practice of just saying, I am enough, I have enough, I am all, I am not small, I am all. And in this understanding, and slowly the understanding dawns, actually one becomes a very cheerful person. Because the raga dveshas go as a result. All the things you wanted, all the things you never thought you had, all the things you don't think you'll ever get, all that is dropped. Why bother about all the things I can't have? Because I can't have them. So why bother about them? And so santushti brings out a cheerfulness. And all the friends that you supposedly lost because you were talking only Vedanta, come back now. Yeah. Because everybody wants to be around a cheerful person. So the period of friendlessness is small. And that's what you overcome with titiksha. You keep on talking Vedanta, it keeps on getting assimilated. And then as you assimilate and grow, you become more contented, more cheerful. Then all the people who deserted come back because they say, oh, here is one person who doesn't complain. What a concept. How wonderful to encounter such a person that we know, and how even more wonderful to discover that I am that person. It's just amazing. So this is santushti. One more characteristic of the Paramahamsa type of jnani, sannyasi. Sannyasi jnani are similar in all the ancient texts. They are taken together, especially if we are talking about Paramahamsa. So they are equated. Even Adi Shankara does that. Sannyasi and jnani are equated in the Paramahamsa variety. Then the next one is a kind of a cryptic term, gunatitaha. The one who has overridden all the gunas, transcended the gunas. What are gunas? What are the gunas? Sattva, rajas and tamas. These are just, certain predilections which make up everything in the universe. It's the palette of colors with which the whole Jagat is colored. And the painter is Maya, Mahamaya. She is the one who takes Sattva, Rajas and Tamas and has painted everything. And it's a beautiful painting of the Jagat. A beautiful painting that is the Jagat. And then what is there? Everything is there. All it's it's like those what do we have? Those tribal paintings are there, no? Those nice ones. Varli painting, and then there's another one starts with M. Madhubani paintings. There the whole Jagat is seen. You see all kinds of small stick figures, names, forms in the Varli paintings. In Madhubani paintings also you see fish, you see cats, you see dogs, you see people. The whole world is there. And the colors are Sattva, which is godlike, ethical, contentment, Vedanta-like, and then Rajas, restless, fearful, movement. In balance it is movement, otherwise it is restlessness. And then finally what? Tamas, inertia, resentment, grief, etc. And so therefore, the whole world is colored, and of course your mind is not an exception, is it? The mind is also coming under the spell of Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. And here, Gunatitaha, the one that is not affected by the gunas. A very big jump. Because what decides whether one has a bad day or a good day is whether Rajas or Tamas, Rajas or Sattva predominates. If Rajas or Tamas predominates, of course it's a bad day. This is how one leads one's life. And here, the Paramahamsa type of sannyasi / jnani is not connected at all to the gunas. So it's like not identifying as part of the painting, but as the onlooker of the Maya's painting. That is what it is. A sheer, thing of placement. Where do you place the eye? Do you place the eye in the mind, which is affected by the gunas? Do you place the eye in the body or the senses, which are all affected by the gunas? Your possessions, your connections, your relationships? Or do you place the eye in Parabrahman? I as Brahman, and then you can just appreciate the gunas without coming under their spell. And if you think this is too abstract, then this is not for me. It is for you. Why? Because the same lesson is given in chapter 2 to Arjuna by the Lord. Traigunya Vishaya Vedaha Nistraigunyo Bhavarjuna Nirdvandvo Nitya Sattvasthaha Niryogakshema Atmavan. Traigunya Vishaya Vedaha, Arjuna is told. Everything in the universe, including the Vedas, they are under the spell of the gunas. How can the Veda be under the spell of Rajas and Tamas? Yes, because there are certain spells in the Atharva Veda. How to bring down your opponent. All that is there in the first portion of the Veda. How to win over somebody. How to make somebody come under your control. These are all Rajasic, coming under the Rajasic desires. So the solution to the Rajasic desires will also be Rajasic solutions, Rajasic remedies. So therefore, Traigunya Vishaya Vedaha. But you don't come under their spell. You become free of the three gunas. Nistraigunyo bhava. Hey Arjuna, oh Arjuna, you don't come under their spell. Well, easier said than done. How do I not come under their spell? Nitya Sattvasthaha. First thing is, you catch hold, out of the three gunas. How to jump out of the gunas? Catch hold of Sattva first, because that is close to your nature. that Sattva resolves in the Satchidananda Atma. That's why it's called Sattva, because it has got the word Sat in it. It is close to Sat, that which is the word that describes Brahman, from which everything has come, unto which everything goes, by which everything is sustained, that Sat. That Sat is you, and Sattva, that Satness, you imbibe in that first. Catch hold of that. Sattva means compassion, reaching out, no resentment, no revengefulness. All this is Sattva. Randomly acting out of kindness, all this is Sattva, without trying to get something or expecting something in return. Even if those expectations are there, they are healed. This is Sattva. Catch hold of the Sattva. Identify with the Sattva. Nitya Sattvastha. Be in Sattva always. Nirdvandvaha. Do not be in situations that have some kind of a argument. Dvandva is argument. Dvandva is contradiction. Dvandva is sitting on the fence, not being able to decide. Nirdvandvo bhava. Nitya Sattvastho bhava. Atmavan bhava. Atmavan means the one with a strong mind, a disciplined mind that is able to overcome the excesses of emotions, outburst of emotions, and then the raga dveshas therein. And how to do that? The final teaching is given. Niryoga kshemo bhava. Yesterday we saw yoga and kshema. Okay? Thank you for not looking blankly. Yoga is what? Gaining what one doesn't have. Kshema is protecting what one wants and one has. It includes getting rid of what one doesn't want, etc. All those things it includes. So, niryoga kshemo bhava means the way to overcome the gunas is to give up raga dvesha. Because what is yoga kshema? Polite shastric words for raga and dvesha. That's what it is. Technical words. Upanishadic words. Yoga kshemat preyo mandaha preyo vrinite. And so, in order to give up the gunas, become gunatita. What stops the transcendence of the gunas is the raga and dvesha. Because the raga, dvesha themselves, the desires are mired in rajas and tamas. There may be a few sattvic desires, but they are soon hijacked by rajas and tamas. And so therefore, these ragadveshas are given up, and it's kind of scary to say give up ragadveshas, all of them at once. I don't think I can do that. So therefore, very politely, Lord Krishna says to Arjuna, give up yoga and kshema. Always worrying about your welfare, yoga, and keeping dangerous things at bay, kshema. Okay, I can try and do that. That seems a little more manageable, but it's really the same thing. So, niryoga kshemo bhava. This is the steps to becoming gunatita. Very clearly it is given in the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita. So this is the gunatita. Gunatita means the one who has no connection to trying to protect oneself or trying to give up something, trying to protect oneself or give up what they want and don't want and all these things. The one that is not interested in that. And if I'm not interested in that, what should I be interested in? Self-knowledge. When self-knowledge is focused on, one is in sattva. And when one is in sattva, all the needs are taken care of. Everything is taken care of. It's a law of the universe. because one is doing what one is supposed to do. This is also another way of being in Sattva. Do what you are supposed to do, desist from what you are not supposed to do, and then it becomes very easy to, then when one is well on the path to Gunatita. Oh, but then isn't Sattva also addictive? Gunatita doesn't mean being in Sattva. When should I throw away the Sattva? This can be a question. Sattva is not thrown away. It just folds into Satchidananda. It's like Harishchandra Danda. Harishchandra was a king, but due to certain tests and karma, he was reduced to function for a while, earn his living as a funeral groundskeeper. So people will do the last rites for the body and go away. And the funeral groundskeeper has to be there and make sure the body burns down, collect the ashes, put it in a pot or an urn and give it next day to the family. That is what the funeral groundskeeper does. And here, the funeral groundskeeper was Harishchandra. And then sometimes what happens when the bodies are burning, certain gases in the stomach, etc., are released. And it looks like the body is getting up out of the fire. It's not. It's just some kind of a motion because of the various gases. And so what do? The funeral groundskeeper takes a stick, just a stick from the tree or the wayside, and then prods the body back into the fire, pushes the body back into the fire. And then what do you do with the stick? You don't wash it and take it home, okay? Yeah. You throw that also into the fire. So the stick is the aid by which the other two gunas are won over. The stick here represents Sattva, by which the other two gunas are won over, overcome, and then after that the stick is, it just integrates into you because it is very close to who you are. So you don't ever have to give up Sattva or worry about how will I give up Sattva. How to not be affected by Sattva is not a question to ask. And so this is, and the word Gunatita also comes in the Bhagavad Gita, because that's what it is. This JivanMukti Viveka is just based on 700 quotations from the Shruti, from the Bhagavad Gita and from the Puranas. Amazing. So many quotations. So Gunatita, where does it come? 14th chapter. Towards the end, 24th or 25th verse it comes. Manapamanayo stulyah tulyo mitrari pakshayoho, and then something. And then Gunatitas saha uchyate. Couldn't remember the one part, but doesn't matter. Gunatitah saha uchyate. Sarvaramba parityagi Gunatitas sa uchyate. Whenever you are trying to recall Bhagavad Gita verses, you have to break into that tune. Then it will come quickly. Manapamanayostulyah. Then it would have come. So, sarvarambha parityagi gunatitah saha uchyate. And the Gunatita basically is a summation of all the things that we have already talked about. Manapamanayostulyah is being impervious to blame or praise. Mana, praise. Status. Apamana, what is reduction in status, or bringing some, being brought down through words or through gestures, loss of reputation, etc. Tulyah, for whom it is the same. Tulya mitrari pakshayoho. There is no partisanship. One is the same towards the friend and the enemy, and in America we have a third category. What is that? Frenemy. Very good, yeah. So, a frenemy, I suppose, is a friend who behaves like an enemy? Yeah. So this is easy for a regular person. Okay, I should be the same to people who are friendly and to the people who are inimical. But then why will the jnani has enemy? Why will the jnani have enemies? This is a very important question. And Adi Shankara in the Bhashya says, actually from his own personal experience, mind you, Adi Shankara in the Bhashya says that jnani doesn't have enemies, but many people will think of the jnani as an enemy due to their own dispositions. He says that. Due to their own dispositions, because they are not matured enough emotionally. They don't recognize the jnani as a jnani. They recognize a jnani as somebody to contend with, maybe somebody to be jealous of. And so how should the jnani, the Paramahamsa, deal with it? Adi Shankara shows in his own life. First, someone put some, bad magic on him, and he had some disease for a very, very long time. And so then the students collected money. All his students and lots of people collected the money, and they brought palatial doctors. This is what Svatmavidyananda writing about Adi Shankara's life says. They brought doctors from belonging to some kings who were very expensive. Must have charged by the minute. And so they all came, and they all came and stayed where Adi Shankara was staying during Chaturmasya one time. And for a month. They stayed for a month and tried to cure him, to no avail. And then they all were flummoxed. They said, oh, we never have had this kind of a situation where we've had to give up. And Adi Shankara then quietly said, oh, it is black magic. That's why you will not be able to cure. Oh, can you cure it yourself? Yes. Well, then why won't you? Because that is not my priority. And then, because I know that it will go at some point, so let it go at some point, he said. This is how the Gunatita behaves. He didn't get mad, how dare somebody put bad magic on me. Nothing like that. And on another occasion, there was some kind of a demonesque being, Rakshasa, a cannibal, who said, I love the taste of sadhus. Can I have you over for lunch? And because, I like to eat pure beings. Beings who are, who don't have a mean bone in their body, they taste wonderful. So, Adi Shankara, he came and he started to talk. First he wanted to eat Adi Shankara. Adi Shankara was meditating, and even cannibals have their code of conduct where it said, do not eat a praying being. And so finally Adi Shankara comes out of meditation, and this is the dialogue. He has to listen to this cannibal. And then he says, okay, you can eat me tomorrow, no problem, but make sure, and he also gives him this, make sure you come to eat me when Padmapada is not around. Because if Padmapada is around, he will not let you eat me. He's very protective of me. He's like my bodyguard. And so when is he not around? Well, sometimes he goes to the river to take a bath, or he goes for his food. At that time, you can come and eat me. Adi Shankara gives complete permission. Tulya mitrari pakshayoho. No problem, have me, if I taste to you like dessert, have me, no problem. And unfortunately for the Rakshasa, the Padmapada was coming back from his bath just then, and from behind the bushes, he heard the entire conversation. And he changed the time of his bath the next day. He went much earlier than before, and he leapt at the Rakshasa when the Rakshasa came, and just went like this with him and threw him. That is just to complete that story. But we are not interested in the story. We just enjoyed it. That's good. Now back here, Tulya mitrari pakshayoho. Sarvarambha parityagi. These are all gunatita lakshana. Sarvarambha parityagi. The one that gives up all beginnings. Does not initiate anything. And that's one of the really big relief. That is a wonderful relief. Sannyasa gives you the permission to not initiate anything. Otherwise, there's always this pressure. Oh my God, I have to start this. Oh my God, I have to finish this. Oh, I have to. Then after this is finishing, there is anxiety because something is finishing. Because that means I have to start something else. What to do, what to do, what to do. And I have to stand out and I have to produce something that's never been produced before. All this is a huge waste of time. Sannyasa and Atmajnanam, which are equated in all these ancient texts, means you don't ever have to initiate anything. Then you can't ask the question, why did Adi Shankara write? Why did Vidyaranya write? Writing is also arambha. You had to begin somewhere and you had to end somewhere. And he didn't write one thing, he wrote commentaries to 10 Upanishads, Brahma Sutra, and then Bhagavad Gita. Brahma Sutra means 555 sutras. Bhagavad Gita, 700 and odd verses, plus all the shlokas, all the praise songs, hymns, everything. How can one write so much and say Sarvarambha Parityagi, the one who doesn't initiate anything? But here, the initiation is for the benefit of others, not for oneself. And if one doesn't know whether it's benefiting me or others, then better to keep quiet and not initiate. This is all about learning. Being gunatita means learning to be led rather than trying to lead, because in this leadership role, wanting to lead all the time, there is a lot of ahankara, lot of rajas. And then when that doesn't get its way, it turns into resentment and sorrow, tamas. So one is kind of frolicking in the worlds of rajas and tamas rather than sattva. And then, so, sarvarambha parityagi gunatitaha saha uchyate. So these are some of the characteristics of Paramahamsa, which we don't have the time to get into, so I summarized. And so now let us see where the text leads us. Verse number 13. Verse number 12, what did it say? Verse number 12 said that Jignasuhu Jnanavan cha iti. Jignasur Jnanavan cha iti. Parahamsaha dvidha mataha. Two kinds of Paramahamsa sannyasis are there. One is a Jignasu, another one is a Jnani. Jignasu means Vividisha sannyasa one has taken. Jnani means what? Vidvat sannyasa one has been given. And then Prahuhu Jnanaya Jignasoho Jnasam Vajasaneyinaha. Vajasaneyinaha means the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad people who follow the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad say this. And why does the Jignasu renounce? For the sake of knowledge. That's all the verse number 12 says. We've already seen that. Verse number 13. Pravrajino lokametam icchantav pravrajantihi etasyarthastagadyena Bhakshyate manda buddhaye. Yeah, it's not arthastu. Yeah, there is a little misprint here in mine, or not clearly printed. It is tu, not the. Together. Pravrajino lokametam icchantav pravrajantihi etasyarthastu gadyena Vakshyate manda buddhaye. Pravrajinaha means the people who go from place to place. Who are they? Sannyasis. Pravrajinaha lokam etam icchantaha. Etam lokam icchantaha. Desiring this particular loka. Which loka? It's going to be told later when we look at the quotation itself. Atma loka. Atma lokam icchantam. Desiring Atma loka. The pravrajin take pravrajanti. Take to a life of wandering. Take to a life of renunciation and wandering. Etasya arthaha tu, the meaning of this vakya, gadyena vakshyate. Gadyena vakshyate means it is going to be talked about in prose. Why? Manda buddhaye. To enlighten the ones who are slightly dull and who did not understand verses number 1 to 13. And so and this particular quotation in verse number 13 to make that abundantly clear without a shadow of doubt, error, vagueness. I'm going to resort to prose. Because poetry means you have to have economy of words. And so many things, go in that. But prose means you can keep on talking and keep on quoting and everything. Here also there is a quotation, but it's all just compacted. And so one may not understand. That's why, for the sake of Vidyaranya Swami's whole goal was like that. To make everybody understand Vedanta, how to make it more and more accessible. And so that's why he wrote Panchadashi, that's why he wrote this which is a compendium of all the Upanishads' view on sannyasa and jnanam, atma jnanam. Amazing. So he says, I'm now going to resort to prose so that everybody can relax and everything is going to be explained step by step. So first let us look at the quote. The quote is slightly different here. Here in the 13th verse it says, Pravrajinaha lokam etam icchantaha pravrajanti. The first line is the quote. In the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, and the citation is given 4:422. And then it says adapted, meaning it's an excerpt, it's a restatement, it's not exactly the quote. What is exactly the quote? Etam eva pravrajinaha lokam icchantaha pravrajanti. So, etam eva. That is what is missing, I suppose. Etam eva lokam, etam eva pravrajinaha lokam icchantaha pravrajanti. Desiring this loka alone, what loka? It's going to be told. The Atma loka. Atma loka means the loka of the self. The loka, not of the self, the loka that is the self. And desiring this alone, the people take to a life of mendicancy, running around from place to place, just going around, wandering monk, one becomes. Okay? So what is this loka? It's going to be talked about in prose now. Loko hi dvividhaha, atmalokaha, anatmalokaha cha iti. What a relief. Now we are in prose. It's easy to understand. There are two kinds of lokas. One is called Atmaloka, and then what is the other one called? Anatmaloka. See, even without Sanskrit, people are able to understand this. And so one is called Atmaloka, the realm. Loka means realm, the realm of the self. Lokyate iti lokaha, lokyate anena iti lokah. So lokyate means that which is experienced. Lokyate. That which is experienced is called loka. And also we can have lokyate anena, that by which something is experienced. That is also loka. Loka, therefore, is a field of experience. Field of experience, and in this realm we are discussing two kinds of lokas in general. And then what are they? Atmaloka and Anatmaloka. Atmaloka is one, realm of the self. And you find this reference to it in kind of a similar term in the Taittiriya Upanishad, the first valli towards the end. Apnoti swarajyam. Swarajyam apnoti. Gains the kingdom of the self. That is what this Atmaloka is. Atma eva lokah, Atmalokah. Not Atmanah lokah. You shouldn't take it, it is the realm of the Atma. No. It is the realm that is the Atma. Because realm of the Atma means what? It's like saying Rahu's head. Rahoho shiraha iva. Oh, what is Rahu? Huh? Yes, but what is it made up of? Head. Yeah. Rahu is all head. So if you say head of Rahu, it has no meaning at all. Since if you say Rahu's head, it has no meaning. It's similar to saying the loka of the self. Same thing. Self is the loka. Self alone is the loka, so you don't have the loka of the self at all. Self itself is the loka. And so you can't say Atmanaha loka, Atma loka, Atma eva loka. Loka, Atma loka. And so that is one, the self itself. Which kind of self? Not the one I take myself to be, but the one described in the Upanishad as Satchidatma, Satchidananda, Satyam Jnanam Anantam. This is what is the realm of the self. The definition of the self as the only thing that there is, and that which is the truth of the entire world of names and forms, and that which is the indweller of the body in the form of the conscious presence of oneself as a self-effulgent being. This is the self. And so this is the self-loka. Then there are anatma loka also. This is the typical way in which the Sanskrit texts go. So first Atmaloka, then Anatmaloka. But what do they discuss first? They discuss Anatmaloka first. This is typical because Atmaloka is saved for the last. Tatra Anatmalokasya Traividyam Brihadaranyake Tritiyadhyaye Shruyate. Here we hear about the three kinds of Anatmaloka in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Athacha, and the quotation is there, 416, Athacha Trayo Vavalokaha Manushyalokaha Pitralokaha Devalokaha iti. Three kinds of Anatmalokas are there. But I thought I was interested in Atmaloka. Why are you giving me Anatmaloka? Because to take away the desire for those lokas, those are talked about first. This is a typical, a very interesting Upanishadic pedagogy. First you give the wrong scenario first. And you take away those options by showing the limitations of each one of them and the wrong scenarios, the wrong lokas, whatever it is, the wrong choices, and then the person is ready to listen to what Atmaloka is and how to gain it. This is a pedagogical move. And so that's why the Anatmaloka is going to be discussed first. Very interesting. So what are they? Manushya Loka. What is Manushya Loka? The realm of this world here. We know this very well. Manushya Loka, everybody knows very well because one is living in it. And so this is Manushya Loka. Then the next one it says is Pitraloka, the world of the ancestors, the mains. Then the third one is called Devaloka, the world of the celestials. So then the question arises, how do I gain them? Because what's the use of knowing they are there? How do I get there? Supposing if I want to have Manushya Loka, how do I get Manushya Loka? And it says, very patriarchally I may add, Putrenaiva Jayaha na anyena karmana. So if you want Manushya Loka, just produce sons and then you will get Manushya Loka. No problem. Have a lot of sons, and I suppose we can take Putra because there is Eva. The Evakara is there, that's why I looked at it as sons. Otherwise, you can take Putra as progeny. So if you take Putra as a progeny, then you can say, by progeny alone, Manushya Loka is gained. This is how it is. That's why in India, especially previously, people were very keen on having male children. This is why. Because they thought that they can come back to this world, Manushya Loka. Jayaha means conquered, gained. So they thought that if they don't have a male child, then they will not come back into this realm at all. They will not do this. And so therefore, there was this fixation, obsession with male children. Now it is not there so much, perhaps in the rural areas. Now it's even in the rural areas it's not there so much. So, but about, even as early as 20 years back, definitely 50 years back, it was very much there. And people in fact used to cry if they had girl children. They would simply sit and weep. And then came the terrible practice of selectively aborting girl children, all because of this, because of not understanding this. And so, progeny is better to take. Putrenaiva Jayaha na anyena karmana. So if you want Manushya Loka, if you want to come back in the next life to this realm, then it is best to have male children or children. And then what? This is what it says. And then Manushya Lokaha, this is how Manushya Loka is gained. Then Pitralokaha, Karmana Pitralokaha. Karmana Pitralokaha. And then if you want to go to the world of ancestors, where dharmic ancestors reside, then you have to do a lot of good deeds. Purta karma, Ishta karma. Ishta Purte. So, Ishta karma means, these fire rituals and puja, all this is called Ishta karma. And then Purta karma means reaching out and helping people. That is called Purta karma. And a lot of this, when you collect, you can go to the realm of the ancestors. What will I do there? Say hello to your lineage. That's all. And maybe you'll have a bungalow there. Maybe you'll live there for some time. None of these are permanent, okay? Yeah, none of these are permanent, because how much good karma can you do? Pitralokaha karmana, it says, how much good karma can you do? You have only 2 hands and 2 legs and a short lifespan, in the larger scheme of things. What can you do? You can't do anything else. And so, Putreneva Jayaha Manushya Lokaha Karmana Pitralokaha. So, the world of the mains, the ancestors, is gained by good karma. Meaning, for a short while, you can say hello to the ancestors and then come back to some other loka, depending on the karma. Then, how is Devaloka gained? Vidyaya Devalokaha. Vidyaya Devalokaha iti. And then, so religious acts, what do you get? The Pitraloka. And then knowledge. So, by knowledge, you get Devaloka. Knowledge means it's not Atma Jnanam. It is just Jnanam of Veda, the first portion of the Veda, etc. It's not necessarily Atma Jnanam, although it can be taken as Atma Jnanam also, but it must not be complete, because if one has complete Atma Jnanam, one is not going to any Loka. One has gained Atma Loka means there is no need to go to any Loka. So here it should be taken knowledge of the Vedangas and the first portion of the Vedas, the mantras and the know-how, Shiksha, Kalpaha, Vyakaranaha, all these things, Jyotish, all these things. So this is what one can take it as. And this kind of a knowledge goes Devaloka. What's the difference between Pitraloka and Devaloka? Devaloka is little more refined, more sophisticated kinds of games and pastimes will be there. These two, how much knowledge can you gather in one life? Not much, considering how much is out there, and this loka also is finite. So these three lokas are gained by actions. Let us look at the similarities. All the three lokas are gained by action alone. So producing a son/child, again action, and then producing good deeds, again action, and then Devaloka is what? Gaining knowledge, again that is also a kind of action, because this you have to go somewhere and study and all these things. And so all these are finite lokas because they are action based. They are action based, and so this is why they are finite. And then it says Atmalokascha tatraiva shruyate. Tatraiva means Brihadaranyake eva. So about Atmaloka also we hear in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, Yo hava asmal lokat swam lokam adrishtva praiti sa enam aviditaha na bhunakti iti. Atmanam eva lokam upasita saya atmanam eva lokam upaste naha asya karma kshiyate iti cha. So again, as I said, it's full of quotations, very interesting. The first one is again a warning of what happens to one who passes away without knowing this Atmaloka. What is Atmaloka is yet to be fully talked about, and but still, Atmaloka must be taken as self-knowledge. That's all it is. So the one who goes away knowing knowing one's own world, Atmaloka, then one is not protected by this knowledge. Meaning, one is going on in the realms of the finite. It's not infinite. This is what it is said. And then the one who devotes, on the other hand, the one who devotes oneself to the pursuit of Atmaloka, then their efforts for this self-knowledge do not go in vain. How? Why? We'll see later. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadag Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.